Yesterday I heard a story. I'll share some of the details that chas v'shalom should not be lashon hara, but a very intense story that will present and lay out the foundation of this class. So a certain individual, a lady that I know, found out that her husband, who's supposedly a God-fearing individual, while she is not, found out that her husband cheated on her with another woman. Happens every day, every city, every town, every country, dozens of times. So what's so different in this story than all the rest? That she asked me, how can it be that my husband is an observant, so to say, individual and can come to such a sin that he cheats on his wife? So my answer was, when the Yetzer, when the desire, the urge, the inclination is burning, the logic goes out of the window, right? In Hebrew it sounds much more profound. כשהיצר בוער, ההיגיון בחופש. When the inclination is on turbos, when there's a strong desire for something, suddenly your common sense, your logic, your faith, your belief leaves the room. There's always a little point in your brain that tells you, don't do it, don't do it, no, don't go there. But it's such a small point in your brain that the rest is like, the professional name of the Yetzer, of the inclination, of the desire, you know how it's called? The Samech Mem. Samech Mem is the acronym. It's not even an acronym. It's two letters of the full name of the Satan, of the devil, of the one who pushes the urge, right? His name is Samech Mem Aleph Lamed. We don't pronounce the name. Samech Mem is like two letters pulled out. But Samech Mem in Hebrew is read Sam. Sam means a drug. And why is it called that? Because in Hebrew, to drug somebody is to lesamem oto, to drug somebody. So the Yetzer Hara kind of drugs you. Another explanation that Samech Mem is also two letters out of the word suma, a person who's blind. Then the Samech Mem blinds you, drugs you, blinds you. You forget who you are, you forget where you're from, you forget your values, you forget everything because he's pointing somewhere. So if this is the case, and we all can be easily victims. Now this is an example that I'm giving you with a man going with a woman. It can be to each and every one of us with stealing, embezzling, cheating, slandering. Oh, I can give you now 125 examples how it can relate with each and every one of us. That something is burning, somebody said something to you and you are about to explode and you burst out with something you shouldn't say. Or anything in that respect, you can take it to any direction you want. Now, of course, comes the situation, so what's the advice for something like that? How do you hold yourself in the moment where you are like a loaded gun and you stop yourself from falling into the pit that you might not be able to come out from? So, in order for us to apply good practice to such a serious question, let's go to the role model in the Torah. So we're in Parashat Vayeshev. Parashat Vayeshev is talking about the story of Yosef HaTzadik. And really Yosef is the model, is the role model of the one who fights the ultimate challenge and wins. If you're looking in the entire Tanakh of a certain individual that was faced into the biggest challenge of his life and was able to win. So let's analyze the character for 1 second. We're talking here about a 17-year-old male who faces a challenge with a beautiful, gorgeous, unbelievable, attractive woman who seduces him to be with her. He has nothing to lose, everything to gain, and yet he says, no, I can't. So let me give you a little bit of background on what's going on there. First of all, when you're looking at the story of Yosef, is supernatural, not normal, doesn't even make sense. Yosef didn't live in Bnei Brak, okay, or Borough Park, or Monsey, or Mea Shearim. He lived in Mitzrayim. There's not even a city in our generation that can be compared to Mitzrayim. Not Vegas, not Dubai, not Koh Samui. There's nothing like this in our generation. Go to the worst place in the world. This is nothing compared to Mitzrayim in regards to its promiscuity, for the level of filth. It says about Mitzrayim that it was Ervat Haaretz. Erva is the most lowliest place that you can find. Erva is hidden places, private parts of our body. But really Erva means something that is shafel. Shafel is lowliness. So he lived in the most disgusting place where there's no rules. Everybody does whatever they want. I'm telling you, Vegas, any city you can think of is nothing compared to how it was there in regards to how the women were modest, men and women, men and men, anything goes there. There was nothing dignity, nothing honorable. And yet he lives there for 22 years. Okay? But the story happens when he gets there. Now, there's not one individual in the entire Torah that is described as a handsome man. Okay? On Yosef it says Yafeh Toar veYafeh Mar'eh. Yafeh Toar means that his face was gorgeous. Yafeh Mar'eh, that his body was, you're talking here like a Calvin Klein model, nothing like that to even compare. Something that women will see fall to his legs just from his beauty. And there's nobody in the Tanakh that is described as handsome as he was. So you're talking here about a 17-year-old male, gorgeous, that not only that his face is gorgeous, his physique, something completely out of this world. And you know the whole story. His brothers kidnap him, sell him to a convoy of Ishmaelim. They sell him, they come to the meat market, he's in chains, and Potiphar comes there. And you can't miss Yosef. I mean, what was in the meat market, in the slave markets? Slaves and disgusting people. And there you have this gorgeous young man. The text says that Potiphar had tendencies to like men. That's why he bought him, by the way. He didn't buy him because he wanted some hot guy around his house. Potiphar liked men. He wanted to be with Yosef, so he bought him. So Potiphar buys him. Potiphar was the minister of Sarat Abachim, the minister of cooking. He was however you go. I don't even know how you can even translate it. He was in charge, the top chef of Mitzrayim, okay? Had a chain of restaurants and so forth. And not only that, he brings him to his house and he tells him, okay, you run the show here. And very quickly, Yosef, sharp guy, takes control over everything. And in a few months, he takes over the entire estate and he runs the show. Potiphar tells him, you run the show. I see you're smart, you're sharp, you're taking care of business. You take care of my entire estate. And then what happens? Potiphar has a beautiful, attractive wife that falls in love with Yosef. And in any opportunity she has, she's trying to seduce him to be with her. First, she's trying in a nice way, changing her clothes, lipstick, high heels, cleavage, trying to get his attention, right? Then she sees that doesn't work, so what does she do? She corners him. If you're not going to be with me, I'm going to make sure you're going to be jailed. If you're not going to be with me, I'm going to rat on you that you did this and that. If you're not going to be with me, she starts cornering him. At some point, he almost fails. The text says that there was some type of a holiday, nobody was home, and he knew that nobody's home, and he came to the estate to do his work. Some of the commentary says that, in his favor, by saying, no, he knew that nobody's home, including the wife, so he came to work. Some of the commentary says it completely different. It says, no, he knew that nobody's home but the wife, so he ran to the home. Maybe something will happen, nobody's there, he can finally be with this woman. But nevertheless, you know the whole story. She tries to be with him, and for the last moment before he fails, he sees a portrait of his father, and he grabs, he pushes away her hand and runs away. And the story then later on, she tells Potiphar, and then they arrest him and he goes to jail and so forth. Now, this is basically the story that you understand a little bit of the background. So we're talking here about a young man, very attractive, and is seduced by a very attractive woman. And really, when he's thinking about it, what's he going to lose? Nobody knows him. He doesn't know anybody. A stranger in a strange town. In the town, it's not even considered a sin. What's the big deal? Just be with her. Needless to say, that probably maybe he wanted to be with her. But on the other hand, he has everything to lose and nothing to gain. But really, when you're thinking about it, he has everything to gain but nothing to lose. Because she's cornering to such a point, she's already blackmailing him. Your entire future is dependent on me. So what's going on there that suddenly out of nowhere, he decides to not pursue? So if you're looking specifically in the text where the whole story is found, chapter 39 in our parasha, chapter 39 in the book of Bereshit, verse 8, and it's using a word that's the word that changed everything. And the word is vayema'en. The English translation, and he refused. Now, in the Torah, there's all the little symbols that is called te'amim, right? The te'amei Torah. The English translation for that is the trops, right? That's how it's called, the trops. Or what I found the translation is the cantillation notes. Okay? It's all the little signs, how you read the Torah. I'm talking about when you read the Torah in the synagogue, not how you read it from the actual book. Because it all symbolizes, different tunes, when you're raising your voice, reducing your voice. The trop, the ta'am, above the word vayema'en, is a ta'am that is called shalshelet. And if you're looking at the book, each one has a different, one is a circle with a little line, one is like a kind of a arrow to the side. There's different signs. Look in the Chumash, you'll see what I'm talking about. The shalshelet is a very rare and uncommon trop. Very few words in the Torah has that, and the sound of it is a repeating and accelerating sound, and repeating a lot. And you don't hear it in many, it's very rare, maybe a few times in the entire Torah. And the shalshelet, the translation of shalshelet is a chain, but above the word vayema'en, where it says that he refused, is that specific drop. Now, nothing is by chance, nothing is a mistake, everything has a meaning to it. So before we explain that, a question could be presented. If chas v'shalom, you are in the place that you're about to commit a very bad sin, and it doesn't matter right now what it is, each person, their sin is different. what would probably be the most powerful thing that will stop you from doing the sin? And I'm not saying that because that's my opinion, that's what most of the commentary will say. What's the most powerful thing to prevent a sin? It's called honor. You're afraid of your honor. You're afraid to be embarrassed. A person can be in a very high position politically. He's about to sin in a very horrible sin. What will stop him? The shame that everybody will find out what he did. Okay? So honor, your respect, shame, that's the most strongest thing that will stop you from doing a sin. When everybody will find out it was you. And one of the many commentaries that says that is Maimonides, is Rambam. Rambam says, you'll have the biggest desire, the biggest lust. What will stop you? Kavod, respect. That you'll know that you either gain a lot of respect or chas v'shalom, you lose all your status. If somebody will find out what you just said, you're saying, okay, I'm willing to not do this sin right now. With that said, if you're looking at the situation of Yosef, not yourself, Yosef, he didn't have any honor. Who knows him? He's a nobody. Right? Now nobody, not only that in Mitzrayim he's a nobody, he's completely under the radar. Because in regards to his father, he died. The brothers made a pact, we don't talk about him. So really he's an orphan. His mother's died. He's not registered anywhere. He's not in Misrad HaPnim. He's a ghost. He doesn't exist technically in the world. So he doesn't have a past. He's in a strange land. He's no social security. He is nobody. He somehow entered the land of Mitzrayim. No immigration, no visa, no passport. He's a no one. All his past is erased, and all his future is in the hand of this woman. In one word, she says that he tried to rape her. Boom, he goes to jail. And she also told him, you be with me, I'll raise you up. I'll make you the boss here. So he has nothing to lose. And he has no honor or respect to put in the equation. Oh, I'm going to lose my honor. You are nobody. You are nothing. So what saves him if it's not the pursuit of honor and respect or the fear to be shamed? Like I told you, that's what the commentary says, that as he was about to do the sin, doesn't matter right now, willingly accepting, he wanted, he didn't want, he sees a portrait of his father, he gets scared, and he runs off. And there's a lot of questions on the commentary, because it doesn't say in the Torah, it says in the commentary. Where did you come up with the dafka that he saw his father? And there's a lot of arguments, we're not going to get into that, but I'm already telling you, there is arguments on the commentary, who says that he saw his father. But nevertheless, let's jump to another question of the commentaries. So he saw his father. So what? So what? I was once a pretty, we'll say it in a nice way, mischievous kid. Didn't stop me from doing any sins. Even if I saw my father in front of me, it didn't stop me from sinning, cheating, lying, stealing. So what? So the commentary says, so what? So he saw his face of his father. Big deal. What is that to stop him from sinning? Well, you think my kids see me, they stop from sinning? I hope they're not, but they think they see me, that makes much of a difference. Maybe yes, maybe not, I don't know. But the commentary says, okay, so you said he saw a portrait of his father. So what? I told you that the trop above the word Vayema'en is called shalshelet. Shalshelet means a chain. The commentary answers what he saw is the chain of the generations. Not only he saw the image of his father, he saw the chain of the generations. Wait a minute. I'm the son of Yaakov, the son of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. I'm not some, I don't know how you can define it. I'm the son of kings. I'm not a simple individual. Now all this is very noble, very nice, very pleasant, but this might work for Yosef. It doesn't mean that it works for me. It didn't stop me from sinning. Oh, my father. So again, it's very nice in the commentary. That works for Yosef. He's the son of Yaakov. I'm not the son of Yaakov. Well, maybe 50 generations above, I'm the son of Yaakov. But that doesn't work for me or you. To come and say, well, I'm the son, I'm the prince. So what? Okay, it's all nice, but that doesn't teach me how I'm supposed to deal with situations like that. And the Torah comes and tells me stories only to teach me how to relate with the world and how to behave in the world. That's the Torah. The Torah is not a history book. The Torah comes to teach me how to deal with situations. So the Torah is now presenting to me the ultimate test. Now it has to teach me how to deal with the test. So up until now, nothing works for me too. I'm not afraid of seeing a picture of my father, neither than you, and also, so what of my father? Not that I'm chas v'shalom saying anything to disrespect my personal father. I'm just, I'm not the son of Yaakov. That doesn't work for me. So before we answer this question, there's a very important comment that has to be explained before we continue. Because I told you that when Yosef was about to sin, it says in the Torah that on that day, which the commentary says there was some type of holiday, that they all went to their place of worship, so the house was empty. Some commentary says, he knew the house is empty, including the wife, so he ran to do his job. So that's presenting Yosef in a positive light. But many of the commentaries says, no. He knew that everybody's out of the house, but the wife, she's all by herself. He can do whatever he wants. No cameras, no surveillance, nobody will see, nobody will hear. So he ran. So the commentary says, most of the commentaries, you're putting Yosef in a very negative light. Why? Why you say something like that? That's not nice. So to explain that concept, that it will be more clear, there's only two individuals in the entire Tanakh that the Torah calls them a tzaddik. Right? Can you think real quick who they are? Well, one of them is Yosef, of course. Who's the second one? Noach. Ish tzaddik haya bedorotav. Right? Two individuals that the Torah names them tzaddik. Not Moshe Rabbeinu. Not Avraham. Not Yitzchak. Not Aaron. Not David HaMelech. Not Shmuel HaNavi. Nobody. Yosef and Noach. Comes a big question. Why would the commentary put Yosef in a bad light, but also the other individual that the Torah names a tzaddik? If you look in the commentary about Noach, the commentary doesn't put him in a good light. It says, Ish tzaddik bedorotav. He was a righteous person in his generation. Big deal. Put him in the generation of Avraham, he would be a nothing. The commentary doesn't put Noach in a good light. It says, wow. Tzaddik besdom. Yeah, you're in Sdom. Very easy to be a tzaddik. So we have two individuals, the entire Tanakh names them as a tzaddik, and the commentary goes and attacks these two people and puts them in a negative light, saying, what's the big deal? What is the Torah and the commentary are trying to tell us? That the two individuals that the Torah calls them a tzaddik, it's a tzaddik that has the ability and the desire to sin. Moshe was a real tzaddik. He doesn't have the desire. Avraham, can you bribe him in any type of a way? When the Torah calls Yosef and Noach a tzaddik, means they reach to a level of a tzaddik with the Yetzer hara, with the desire to sin. They earned the title. They weren't born a tzaddik. They worked hard for that. Saying, in other words, that really they're more righteous than everybody because they weren't born righteous. They were this close to sin and they were able to overpower their sin. Therefore, we can relate with them. Can you relate with a real tzaddik? No, how can you relate with a real tzaddik? tzaddik, a righteous individual. No desire to sin, no Yetzer hara, loves God with all their heart. We're not even in that platform. We're not even in that level that I can relate in any type of way with a tzaddik. But with an individual that is human as me, that struggles and overpowered the struggle and gained the level of a righteous individual, that I can relate with. So really the commentary is not putting them in a negative light, rather saying that is the real tzaddik, the real righteous individual, that wasn't born with that ability, worked and fought for the title. The greatness of this individual, like Noach or Yosef to that respect, that he did sin, but he also worked on himself and reached to the level of a tzaddik. Therefore, the Torah titles these two individuals as a tzaddik. Much greater than when you're born with that. So really, this is not a shame or notoriety, rather it's a praise. So we're turning now the way how you're looking at the commentary, that the first glance, you're saying the commentary is putting them to shame. No. It's not putting them to shame. Rather, it's praising them. That is the real tzaddik. Yes, you want to follow the great leaders, but you'll never be a tzaddik. You weren't born a tzaddik. You can hang pictures of all these tzaddikim, but you'll never be one because you weren't born one. If we would be able to, we would put a picture of Yosef, a tzaddik, a person that was in the struggle. First of all, saying in other words, Yosef wanted to be with her. Who are you kidding? 17-year-old man? Of course he wanted to be with her. What kind of a question is that? First of all, the message just to take from that is that each and every one of us can become a tzaddik. Yosef almost sinned. He didn't sin. He almost sinned. Saying in other words, and we can conclude the class here, that each and every one of us can reach to that level. Has the ability, has the power. But we're going to continue the class. That's not the message. Okay? But take that as a message for the middle of the class. Now, let's go back to the fact that the commentary says that what stopped Yosef was the fact that he saw a portrait of the face of his father. That doesn't help me when I'm questioning or looking for some type of guidance. How do I deal with the challenge? Right? I'm looking for practical advice. That doesn't give me advice. It doesn't give you any advice because, so let's say I'm going to be now in front of a severe sin, I'll picture my father. I don't think it's going to help me. It might help you, but it's not going to help me and another 5 billion people. And chas v'shalom, I'm not trying to offend any individual. I'm just saying it's not good advice. Okay? And we can analyze that after. But I want to be practical and give me tachlis. What do I do? Listen, I sin every day, along with everybody else. I tried putting the face of my father, didn't work. It didn't. It might work when it's a very small thing. When it's you challenged, and I don't forget, go back to the example I told you in the beginning, when your desire is burning. Come on, I'm not talking here that somebody's now telling you, hey, let's do something minor. Your senses are blinded. You are completely out of your element. You don't even know how to start relating with the challenge. You think a picture of your father is going to make a difference right now? Let's be more practical. So first of all, the advice of our holy and smart sages is that why put yourself in a place of a nisayon, of a challenge? Don't put yourself in a place of a challenge. What, you're trying to find a solution after you're already in the challenge? Don't put yourself in the challenge. You know that you're weak there. If you're an alcoholic, don't go to the bar. If you love women, don't go to a club. Very simple. If your weakness is gambling, stay away from the casino. You know, the Torah says, Sov maseh b'machshava tchila. Think before you act. You know what's going to be the result. Then why put yourself in such a situation? So for that, there's a story in the Talmud about Rabbi Amram Chasida. I'm sure you heard the story. I shared that story many, many times. The story says that there were bandits that came into a Jewish town and they kidnapped a bunch of girls. Somehow they paid the ransom and they released the girls and they were back in town. They didn't know what to do. Young girls. So they said, where are we going to put the girls till we find their homes, etc.? So they said, let's put them in the house of Rabbi Amram Chasida. Amram was the name, like the father of Moshe Rabbeinu. Chasida means the Chasid. Okay. So now they come to Rabbi Amram and they bring him to his house, a bunch of young, gorgeous women. And what do you think that this great Talmid Chacham, this great Chassid didn't look around? Oh, I have gorgeous young girls in my house. The story says that they put them like in an attic or something. But the story says that he, was looking and snooping around. So one time he couldn't stand the temptation. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you an important part of the story. That they put them in like an attic, like a second floor, and they moved the ladder that nobody can go up. The story says that he was so tempted that he moved the ladder what would take normally 4 men to move it. When your desire is burning, you'll move very heavy equipment. Okay, so he moves the ladder and starts climbing up the ladder. Oh my gosh. Suddenly, he came to some sense what he's about to do. So what did he do? He started screaming, fire, fire, fire. Everybody ran out and they see their Rebbe standing on the ladder 2 steps from the attic. What are you doing there? So his students told him, you shamed us, master. So he said, I'd rather shame you in this world than shame you in the world to come. Saying in other words, don't bring the Yetzer, the inclination in. You bring him in, that's it, you're done. There's no way out. You open the little door to the Yetzer, to your desire, you can't get him out. Don't even think you can try. It's like a salesperson. You just open a little bit the door, he's in, that's it. Don't let him in. Because like I told you, once the Yetzer, the desire is in, whether it's your thoughts, doesn't matter where. That's it, you can't get him out. He's going to make you fail. And really, what's this little opening is your thought. I know many people think it's the eyes, what I'm looking at. The thought. If you're just catering the thought, that's it. You dug yourself a pit. Don't let even the thought come in. So that's the first advice, which I'm not saying it's so simple. But I'm sure you know, and I taught that many times, and I'm sure you learned it in many other classes, that it says in the commentary of many places, why would a person sin? So it says a person will sin only if a spirit of folly enters him, right? Ruach shtut. So if a spirit of folly entered me in one type of a way, so how am I liable to be punished later on? Right? I didn't do anything. The spirit of folly entered. So the answer is, if you're asking why would I be liable to punishment, the answer is because the punishment is on the beginning, not on the end. The punishment is that you let him in, not that you cater later on the thought, or whatever it was. The punishment goes only on the beginning. Saying in other words, don't let him in. Close your eyes to see something that you shouldn't. Close your ears that you shouldn't hear any gossip and lashon hara. Close your thoughts. I don't want to think of even something. Don't let him in. Listen, in Hebrew it say take the medicine before the illness, right? What's interesting is, we just celebrated the 19th day of Kislev, Yutet Kislev, which is the day that is attributed to the release of the Baal Tanya from jail. So it says in the book of Tanya that you cannot stop the first thought but you can stop the second one. I'll repeat, and I'm quoting the Baal HaTanya. You cannot stop the first thought, but you can stop the second one. You didn't stop the second one, then that's it, you let him in. And in that respect, I will tell you the same story that I mentioned many times. Many years ago, I was in a lecture, and the whole lecture was for men about guarding the eyes. And at the end, many questions were presented to the rabbi. I wasn't the speaker then, I was a student. And somebody questioned and asked the rabbi, if I walk in the street and right in front of me stands a woman that she's not half naked, she's naked with a few pieces of cloth on her, completely not modest, gorgeous. The woman with the red dress in the Matrix, right? She's standing in front of me. I mean, she's there. Am I going to be liable? I just lift up my head, she's there. So the rabbi said a very smart answer. He says, the sin starts, you know when? When you go like this. You cannot stop the first thought or the first sight. You can stop the second. So how do you stop the thought? Closing your eyes, that you have to be very quick. Closing your ears, not so simple. When somebody's about to tell you, don't, you don't believe what you just heard. Now see, you close your ear. Especially when what I just heard about so-and-so who said this and this about you. What? But how do you stop your thought? By thinking another thought. Rabbi Nachman from Breslev says you can't think two things at the same time. A thought comes into your mind, cheating, lying, slandering, whatever it is, then right away think of a different thought. Don't let it in. Because once it's in, he nailed you. So prevent it. Prevention, right? Now, okay, that is all very good. One word of advice, hopefully you can apply it. But what's the answer? Once you're ready, the thought is already in. The sight is ready. You're already in. You're already in the test already. That's it. You're already, your leg is in the trap. I couldn't control the thought, couldn't control my ears, couldn't control my eyes. That's it. I'm already facing the challenge. What do I do now? So it says, I'll tell you a quick story from the Talmud about a certain individual that his name was Rabbi Bana. And his job was to go to graves and mark the graves. Why? Because at the time of the Holy Temple, people were afraid of Tumat Met, of the impurity of dead. If not, they have to go to the Holy Temple and do tshuva and get sprinkled with the holy water. So he would mark the graves, A, for the priests, for the Kohanim, not to go near a grave or on a grave, and also for people who were afraid of Tumat Met. Okay, that was the job. In our generation, you're an engineer. 2,500 years ago, you would mark graves. Okay, the story says that he went all around Israel marking the graves. Eventually he came to Hebron. He comes to Hebron, comes to Kiryat Arba, and starts marking the grave. So he goes to the first one, sees the grave of Avraham and Sarah, and marks them. Goes to Yitzchak and Rivka, goes to Yaakov and Leah, and then he's about to go to the grave of Adam HaRishon. An angel stops him and tells him, it's enough that you saw the face of Adam. You don't need to see Adam. That's what the story says in the Talmud. מספיק שהסתכלת בפני אדם ראשון, אין אתה צריך לראות את האדם עצמו. It's enough that you saw the face. Why? The Talmud answers in saying, you already saw Yaakov. Yaakov is identical to Adam HaRishon. Yaakov looked exactly like Adam HaRishon. So it's enough that you saw the face of Adam HaRishon. You don't need to see him himself. So who does Yosef really see? Adam HaRishon. It doesn't say in the commentary that he saw his father. It says an image of his father. Yaakov looked like Adam HaRishon. Yosef saw Adam HaRishon. Adam! That changes everything. He didn't see his father. That's why I told you, it's not the father. It's Adam HaRishon. That changes everything. Yosef understands in that moment that he's on a mission. He understands that his soul was selected to correct the sin of Adam HaRishon. That is a whole different ballgame. How does Yosef change or correct or fix the sin of Adam HaRishon? Or for the ones who don't understand the term, Adam. What did Adam fail in? He listened to the snake. The image of Adam HaRishon came to Yosef and says, don't believe her. Don't fall for the threats. Don't fall for the temptations. Then you'll have the best time of your life. But don't fall for the threats. I'm going to ruin you. Don't believe her. And if you don't believe her, you'll correct the sin of Adam HaRishon. He understands, wait a minute. It's not that I'm the son of Yaakov, the grandson of Yitzchak and Abraham. I am here on a mission that will change the face of humanity. He understands the severity and the opportunity. You know, there's a book called the Megalei Amukot. If you remember 2 years ago when we had the Tshuva boot camp, I gave you a whole story just about the Megalei Amukot, the whole story with the two orphan brothers that they sold the unkosher meat. It's a whole lecture, I'm not going to repeat it right now, but nevertheless, the Megalei Amukot is a book. It says there that Adam HaRishon, when he sinned in the tree of knowledge, really he did 3 major sins. I explained that in many of my classes. What are the 3 sins that Adam HaRishon did? Idol worship, forbidden relations, and bloodshed. Right? I said that many, many times. Where does he come up with all these 3 sins? Idol worship, that he listened to the snake and not to the master of the universe. Forbidden relations, that he ended up sinning in that department, and the rest don't need to be explained much. And bloodshed, because of his sin, he brought death to the world. Before that, he was supposed to be immortal. The Megalei Amukot explains that each one of our forefathers came to fix one of these sins. Avraham Avinu was designated to fix idolatry by going and advertising the name of God all around the world. Isaac, Yitzchak, was designated to fix the bloodshed by being a sacrifice and putting his life on the line. Yaakov was designated to fix forbidden relations, Gilui Arayot, and the entire sin of lust. The commentary says by the fact that he had 12 perfect kids, that's how he fixed it. But the Megalei Amukot explains, no, Yosef, if you remember in Parashat Toldot and the rest of the parashot, it says that Yaakov and Yosef were, they looked similar to each other. Ele Toldot Yaakov, it's talking about that the continuation of Yaakov came through Yosef. Really, not in the age, Yosef was number 11. But the continuation, that's what it says, that Yaakov loved Yosef the most. It's not that he loved him over the kids. He had a special spiritual connection to him. So Yosef really was the one to fix forbidden relations. Can you imagine the responsibility that Yosef figured out what he's supposed to do? The greatness of him, or the opportunity that he had, that's what gave him the power. That's what gave him the power to stop himself from sinning by understanding how great he is. Saying in other words, yes, Yosef. But I'm adding to that, yes, you, each and every one of you, are the son or daughter of Adam HaRishon. That already changes the entire way of looking at things. When you do something, you have to understand it's you, not Yosef right now. You are fixing something in the universe that nobody else can fix. Do you understand now your responsibility? When you understand how great you are, you're not a Moshe or a Rachel or whoever you are. You are a unique individual that can fix and correct something in the universe that only you can do. Now, when you understand, A, the responsibility, and simultaneously your greatness, now you're looking at the opportunity as a completely different way. When I became observant, now I know my mom always listens to the classes, so either she'll cry now, I don't know what she's going to do, so I apologize already to my mom. But when I became observant, I needed to find all sorts of ways how to not sin. Okay? Later on it moved to my kids, but it started with my mom. Because I said, who's dear to me in my world? My mom. No offense, nobody, I didn't care about anybody else. My mom. I was in a place that I will stop myself from doing anything if chas v'shalom I would know that it would hurt my mom. Okay? So I brought myself to a place that if chas v'shalom I'm facing a challenge that I'm about to sin, I would think of my mom. And I would think that maybe with my sin it would hurt her in any indirect or direct way. And I said, don't touch my mom. And like I told you, later on it moved to my kids. If I would come to sin, a little ping will go up in my brain. If you will sin right now, maybe it will hurt in a direct or indirect way on your kids. I would be like, okay, that's where I'm backing up. When you really care about the consequences, you think a lot before the sin, even if your desire is burning out of control. So now we're taking it to the next level, and Yosef is coming to teach us that you were selected. You, everybody were selected. And why is it saying Adam HaRishon? That nobody will come and say Jew, non-Jew. We're all the kids of Adam HaRishon. That's the first man. So nobody can come and say, I'm not Jewish, I'm exempt. Or why only the Jews? It has nothing to do with Jews. It has to do with a human being in this world. You have to understand, A, your greatness. Don't belittle yourself by saying, I'm only Moshe, I'm only Yaakov, I'm only Leah, I'm only, I don't know what, Stephanie or Jennifer. No, you are the child of Adam and Chava. You have to understand your greatness. More than that, you have to understand that maybe you're not some celebrity or big shot, but you are the only one that can do a certain correction in the world that nobody else can do. Nobody else can replace your task in the world. Now when you're facing the challenge, you say, wait a minute, if I mess up, the whole ship sinks. If I make it, I change humanity. The face of the world changes because of me. I can't take this responsibility. The lives of billions is dependent on me. So really what we can take from that is a person just needs to be reminded how great they are. Because if we will go by what people tell us, if I would go by all the comments that I ever got growing up till now, I don't think I'm great, because my first grade teacher told me I'm a loser. And my second grade teacher told me I'm going to end up cleaning garbage in the street. And my third grade teacher told me we'll come and visit you in jail. And my fourth grade teacher told me I'm a loser. So if I would listen to all my educators, I'm not going to get far. Not to say that parents call their children losers, liars, you're a nobody, you're a bum. Society names you like that. Oh, why would a person think they're great? when society calls them a misfit, a reject, whatever it is? How many people really get drilled into the brain that they're great? So really what one needs to understand is that every individual needs to be reminded how great they are and how important are their actions, and that there's consequences to their actions. And when you drill that into the person's brain, eventually they'll understand, wait a minute, my actions are detrimental. Or the complete opposite. My actions can change the face of the world. I will just conclude by telling you something profound. That Bezrat Hashem, next week is Hanukkah, right? Best holiday ever. Don't have to fast, don't have to do too much, just light the menorah and eat donuts, right? Best holiday in the Jewish calendar. Don't have to work too hard, it's only a few minutes. Beautiful 8 days of light, etc., etc. So next Sunday, this year will be next Sunday. If Chas v'Shalom Mashiach is not going to come, then this video, somebody will watch it next year. It's not going to be next Sunday. But this coming Sunday, Bezrat Hashem, is Hanukkah. On Hanukkah for 8 days, we read every day a portion from the Torah. What do we read? We read the portion in the Torah that is called Chanukata Mizbeach, the inauguration of the temple. Every day, one of the presidents of each tribe came with an offering. On the 7th day, they didn't know who to give the offering to, because the offering is a sacrifice, is a korban. You're allowed to sacrifice on Shabbat, but only if the offering is what's called a korban tzibur. Korban tzibur is a sacrifice for the public, not for yourself. Because at the time of the tabernacle in the holy temple, if you sinned, you come with a goat, right? A goat, a sheep, a lamb. You come to the priests, you tell them I sinned like this and like that. They sacrifice it, eat it, whatever it is, and the sin is forgiven. You're not allowed to do that on Shabbat. Shabbat, you're allowed to have sacrifices on the altar only if it's a public sacrifice, korban tzibur. So they don't know who to tell now, who's going to be on the 7th day bringing the sacrifice, because Shabbat, it's a problem. Who did they appoint to give the sacrifice on the 7th day? Nasi Mishevet Ephraim, the representative of the tribe of Ephraim. My Ephraim. Ephraim is not one of the kids of Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, or Zilpah. Ephraim is the child of Yosef. But nevertheless, Ephraim and Menashe are part of the tribes. Don't forget, we take out Levi and Yosef. Right? We take out Levi. We leave Levi, but we take from that the Kohanim. But you take out Yosef, Ephraim, and Menashe. The Torah decided that the Nasi of Shevet Ephraim will do the sacrifice on Yom Shabbat, on Shabbat. Why Ephraim? It says, briefly I'll explain, Ephraim is the child of Yosef. Yosef, it says, Yosef Shamar Shabbat. That's what the Torah says. Yosef observed Shabbat. Where do we learn that Yosef observed Shabbat? Is when we'll read it in the next parasha, when the brothers come and he makes a feast, he tells his servants, prepare the meal today so we can eat tomorrow. They ate on Shabbat. It was a Shabbat meal. And he prepared everything prior to Shabbat so they can eat on Shabbat. The Torah says Yosef observed Shabbat. Since Yosef observed Shabbat, Yosef is considered a tzibur, a public, not a single individual. Therefore, Ephraim, who is his child, he can offer the sacrifice on Shabbat because he's considered a public and not an individual. Saying in other words, what do you take from that? That each and every one of us, we're not an individual. If you're looking at yourself as an individual, then you only contribute to yourself. But if you're looking at yourself as a part of a whole, then good or bad, you affect the whole, the klal. everybody, the tzibur, the public. If you're only thinking of yourself as mind your own business, then okay, so you don't contribute much and you damage. You have to understand that you're part of a whole. When you sin, you affect everybody. When you do something good, you do the same thing. You're affecting everybody in a positive way. Rambam says, Asa mitzvah achriyat kol ha'olam lekaf zchut. Maimonides says, if you did a mitzvah, you tilt the entire world in favor. Not yourself, your entire world. So what you need to take from that, when you are challenged with a test that you think that you cannot even start fighting, you have to put yourself in your mind, not the picture of Adam HaRishon, because you don't know how he looks, and not Yosef and not Yaakov, but you have to understand your greatness, you have to understand your importance and your responsibility, you have to understand that you're part of a whole, you're part of a group of an entire human race. Your negative actions will affect the entire world, but your positive actions will affect the entire world in a positive way. That should help you start fighting your challenges.